Is
Yeah, should be recording now.
Perfect. Thank you.
my topic is social worker. Social worker help unwise people of the community in the world. Social worker assist children who are abused, disability who cannot take care of themselves, vulnerable people who cannot stand up for themselves. You might want to know how that social worker need education, how that education help you to become social worker, and how much salary you can get. To state, social worker is representative of the vulnerable people of the community in the world. Moreover, you might need to know how that education help you to become social worker. Education is needed. You need at least bachelor degree. If you have bachelor degree, you can work as case manager, child welfare social worker, and resident in a viewing residential. There are more than 680 social workers in United States and more than 188 licensed social workers in California. You might also want to know how that social worker help you to become complete bachelor degree. Complete bachelor degree in social work or related field. Complete field work our requirement. Advance your practice through continued learning. Social worker will be trained to help people respond to and cope with social, economic, emotional, and behavioral problems in their daily life. Further, many tasks related to counseling, administrative interviewing, client and potential client, according to my research. You might also want to know how much salary you can make. Social workers are making annual medium salary in a year. If you have bachelor degree, you can earn more than 50,000 annually. However, if you have master degree, you will earn more than 81,000 in a year. Social workers who live in California will earn 61,000, between 61,000 and 81,000 yearly. In conclusion, after listening my presentation, the audience will know what kind of education you need, how that education train you to become social worker, and how much salary you can earn. Social worker have children who are abused, disability who cannot take care of themselves, vulnerable people who cannot stand up for themselves. Social worker job is essential in the community of the world. Finally, social workers are representative of the vulnerable people in the community of the world. Thank you.
Do it first reverse. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Insiya, and today I'm going to be talking about how you can become a 5-star or professional chef. So, have you ever dreamed of making luxurious foods at 5-star restaurants? If so, restaurant and food service writer Mary Dowd talks about how you can become a 5-star chef, and she says becoming a 5-star chef requires a lot of creativity, imagination, and business acumen, because you have to have an unbridled passion for cooking if you want to do this for the rest of your life. You also need to have really thick skin to become a 5-star chef, because you're taking the credit or the blame for how the food turns out to be. So you have to be really confident in what you're making. You also need to be really motivated and committed when you're becoming a chef. So that's also really important. Today, I'll share with you how you can become a chef and some of the different benefits you get from it. So the process of becoming a 5-star chef starts with you having to become a server or a dishwasher or a hostess. You have to start from the beginning because you need a lot of experience. So 2 ways to become promoted to head chef or becoming a 5-star chef is the first way you can become promoted is working and training with a head chef at a restaurant that you're working at, or a different restaurant that somebody who's the head chef. You can mentor with them, and usually you get a lot of experience from that, and then you could eventually become promoted. And another way is by graduating from a professional culinary school. I feel like this is the best way because you learn a lot of tricks and necessary things you need to become a chef, and you get a professional degree from that, so you can do that. And yeah, the skills help you out later on in the future. So now that I've discussed with you on how to become a chef, I'm going to talk about some of the benefits of becoming a 5-star chef. So the first benefit is that you can travel anywhere you want based off where you're applying and where you're working. It can be anywhere you can imagine, and a lot of people are hiring 5-star chefs lately too, so you can travel anywhere you want. And the second is you have the opportunity to open up your own restaurant in the future. You gain a lot of experience from becoming head chef, and a lot of people that you can have connections with, and you'll have a lot of knowledge on how to run it. So that will really help in the future. So overall looking, you can see that becoming a 5-star chef comes with a lot of benefits, and it can take some time, but the hard work is worth it at the end. Do you think you have what it takes to become a 5-star chef? Thank you. That's all.
Good job. Great job.
Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you.
All right. What do all of these movies and TV shows have in common? Well, they all portray the career of a detective in a very exaggerated and unrealistic manner. Oftentimes, the audiences of these movies and TV shows develop misconceptions based off of the inaccurate portrayals they see. I was one of those people, so I decided to research the career of a detective in order to educate myself and clear up any misconceptions I may have formed from watching my favorite movies and TV shows. From my research, I found that the career of a detective, although inaccurately represented in the media, is quite interesting and unconventional. I hope that by the end of this presentation, you'll all have a newfound knowledge of detectives and be able to clear up any misconceptions you may have about them. Today, I'll be sharing what detectives do, how to become one, and how fictional detectives differ from real-life ones. The first thing I want to discuss is what detectives do. Detectives investigate criminal cases. Criminal cases involve things like homicides, robberies, and assaults. At the scene of a crime, detectives will usually meet up with police officers and assign them tasks. They'll also go on to examine the crime scene and see if there's any sort of evidence that can help them with their case. In addition to all of this, they'll also review and analyze police reports to see if there's any sort of information that can help them with their investigation. Detectives will work on a case until it is solved or dropped. In May of 2020, the median annual wage for police and detectives, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, was $67,290. The growth projection for police and detectives is 7% from 2020 to 2030. Now that we've discussed what detectives do, how do you become a detective? Well, according to oldcriminaljusticedegrees.com, the first step is to get an education. Most police departments look for someone who has a 2 years associate's degree or a 4 years bachelor's degree. They usually look for someone who has studied criminology, law enforcement, or criminal justice, or any other related subject. The second step is to become a police officer. This is a mandatory requirement. You cannot become a detective without graduating from a relevant police training academy. This is actually something that I didn't know until I researched the career of a detective. I didn't know that detectives were also police officers. In addition to all of this, you also have to spend 3 to 5 years as a police officer in order to gain on-the-job experience. The third step in becoming a police officer or a detective is the hiring process. The hiring process includes a couple of exams, physical, psychological, and knowledge exams, and they're all to determine whether you're in the best position mentally, physically, and in terms of knowledge to be able to take on the responsibilities of a detective. Like any other job, or like most jobs, you'll also be subjected to background and criminal record checks. Now that we've discussed what detectives do and how to become one, how do real-life detectives differ from the ones you see in your favorite movies and TV shows? Oftentimes, fictional detectives will encounter a lot of violent situations. This is really common in TV shows where almost every single episode, detectives will be in some sort of violent situation. This is not the case in real life. According to the fall 2003 Occupational Outlook Quarterly, the violence that detectives face in movies and TV shows is heavily exaggerated compared to the violence that detectives in real life face. Another trope that you may see in movies and TV shows is detectives and other law enforcement walking in and out of crime scenes very freely. This isn't the case either. According to an Insider article, crime scenes are heavily monitored and strictly controlled. Usually there's a log to keep track of who exits and enters crime scenes, and there's usually a log of the evidence that's found. And this is all to make sure that no precious evidence is being misplaced or destroyed, and it's also to make sure that no one unauthorized is entering the crime scene. Another trope you may see in movies and TV shows is detectives kind of using their guns or firearms and just returning to work like normal, like nothing happened, or they'll just move on to the next case as if nothing happened. This isn't the case either, because in real life, if you're part of the law enforcement and you use your gun, you have to file a lot of paperwork on that, because you used a gun. So there's kind of a mini investigation that's launched as to who fired the gun, how many bullets were fired, what were the consequences of the bullets being fired. Just questions like that need to be filled in the paperwork. In conclusion, we have discussed what detectives do, how to become one, and how real-life detectives differ from fictional ones. On that note, I hope that my presentation challenged your perspective of detectives not just the ones you see in movies and TV shows, but the ones in real life as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Joey Chestnut, a famous competitive eater, once said, "I think my body was built to eat 68 hot dogs. It's natural." Competitive eating has widely swept the nation with its popularity in deciding who can eat food the quickest. The competitive spirit that rests within these professionals has encouraged others to actively follow the sport. I first heard of competitive eating through a Looney Tunes episode where Daffy the Duck tried to win a hot dog eating contest by expanding his belly with helium. Although a funny story in retrospect, this is a clear effect of how popular competitive eating began, as it even spread to cartoons. I feel that this information will be useful for everyone to acknowledge competitive eating, if you haven't already, and realize how popular the sport truly remains. Today, I'll be talking about what is competitive eating, the qualifications and training for competitive eating, and finally, the drawbacks that competitive eating has on its professionals. According to a Time article titled "A Brief History of Competitive Eating," written in 2008, Nathan's Famous, a hot dog company, held its first 4th of July event in Coney Island, where the Irishman won with 13. This quote just goes to show how competitive eating had humble beginnings, where it had only a few people participating, and people gorged themselves on carnal food, or in this case, hot dogs. Also, these events were traditionally held on special days such as 4th of July, Easter, and Christmas as well. And also, anyone is allowed to participate as the Irishman won. So it goes to show how everyone here is coming based on their talent. And to this day, competitive eating remains viable and engaging for many. Surprisingly enough, this is the same Nathan's Famous who is hosting this same hot dog eating contest. And it goes to show that everyone loves to see competition, and the companies who host these competitions get their name out, as Nathan's Famous did here. Furthermore, the many popular professional eaters such as Joey Chestnut or Matt Stoney, they all have active social media accounts, which goes to show that people love to see exactly what they're doing and all their sort of preparations. Now that I discussed an introduction to competitive eating, let me now share with you the qualifications needed for a competitive eater. Using this example, Yasir Salem. This competitive eater prepares for competitions by dialing down on solid higher carb foods while making sure not to let his calorie count dip too low. As expected, competitive eating requires eating lots of food, so a huge fount should be maintained. Furthermore, carbs here are eaten, which goes to show how they're arguably the most nutrition-rich ingredient and a fundamental for many competitive eaters. The MLE, or the Major League Eating, says that there are no qualifications needed. So it goes to show how as long as anyone is 18, nothing is needed from the participant as long as they understand the health concerns and the like. It goes to show that very little discrimination is there, so it's just the benefit that everyone there is based on their talent. Now that you know about the qualifications to become a competitive eater, let me now share with you the drawbacks to competitive eating. Kim Dennis, an eating disorder expert from Chicago, says, "The training in competitions causes gastric ruptures and drops sodium levels to dangerously low levels. Stuffing food down your throat at quick speeds is no doubt dangerous and risky for any individual. Bringing sodium levels down can result in other health losses such as seizures and any other health effects that rely on the sodium levels. Furthermore, by accustoming the body to excessive eatings, other bad habits can quickly follow. If the body understands that the person is putting themselves under extreme scenarios to stuff as much food as they can, the body will start to think that's normal, and from here this quickly results into an eating disorder, which causes the person to eat more and an endless cycle begins. Some psychiatrists also go on to say that eating so much is a form of self-abuse. In conclusion, I talked about what is competitive eating and why this remains so famous, the qualifications and training one has to go through, and the drawback this sport poses on professionals. I would like to end with a quote by Joey Chestnut, our famous competitive eater here. "It's addicting beating the heck out of people and eating hot dogs and making people smile. I do feel like garbage afterwards, but so what? Most people feel like garbage after a long day of work." Thank you for listening.
The notorious Wendy Williams once said, Believe it or not, there are interesting elements in everyone. So if I can't talk to everybody for at least 7 to 10 minutes, then I'm in the wrong profession. This quote reveals that you can learn from anybody that you come across, and it reveals the passion that it takes to be a talk show host. So we have all been influenced by a public figure on the media, whether we've seen it on TV, heard it on the radio, or in this day and age, social media. As someone who has been making YouTube videos for over a decade and is known to be very talkative, outspoken, and humorous, being a talk show host is a dream career for me. And as a communications and media studies major, I'm willing to work my way up to pursue this field. A talk show host has a significant role in the media as they cover various topics and interview people from all walks of life. A talk show host has the power to educate and inspire their audience. And to be a talk show host, one must have exceptional communication skills, drive, strong character, and a passion for influencing people. So today I will share with you what a talk show host is, the path to becoming a talk show host, and the daily life of a talk show host. So what is a talk show host? According to a Zip Market Recruiter market research team article, Talk Show Host, What is it and how to become one? A talk show host is the main presenter of a show's content and often does guest interviews. If a show regularly features panel discussions, and it is not uncommon to have more than one regular talk show host. So most talk show hosts revolve around a specific theme, such as politics, health, entertainment, comedy, or gossip. So what does a talk show host do? Well, they present information to an audience, they provide entertainment, they interview guests, and they lead discussions. Also, they read from a script or teleprompter, and they collaborate with a production team, and they plan episodes, and they oversee show's production. So as you can see, they do much more than just talking on the camera. They do a lot of preparation beforehand and during the show and even afterwards to make sure that they get a loyal audience and that they're able to have consistent viewers to keep their show on air. So now that I've talked about what a talk show host is, I will talk about the path to becoming a talk show host. So in a 2019 article on liveabout.com titled, Want to be a talk show host? Follow these tips to get started by Thomas Tennant. The author breaks down what it takes to become one. So first and foremost, you must concentrate on communications, because that's basically, the most important part about being a talk show host is being able to communicate with others and being a good listener and being able to respond and all that, and have a conversation flowing naturally. Also building your reputation. You have to work your way up. So you have to be known in order to get to that career. So you could start off small, which I will get into in a bit, and sharpen your skills. So for me, I'm a communications major, so that's helping me sharpen my skills with eventually getting a talk show or something like that. And then you want to start your own talk show, like this YouTuber, Lily Singh. She started off as a YouTuber, and then she ended up getting her talk show because she worked her way up. And also you want to build relationships with professionals, because making connections is one of the most important things that can help you get to this type of career. So now that I've covered the path towards becoming a talk show host, I'll talk about what it's like in the daily life of a talk show host. So in a 2020 YouTube video, A TV Host's Entire Routine from Waking Up to Getting on Camera, published by Allure, talk show host Julissa Bermudez walks us through a day in her life as a talk show host. So first of all, a talk show host must be well prepared before a show, such as doing self-care, and making sure that they have enough energy to be on camera all day, because it's not just an hour or two of shooting, it's a lot more than that. So you must be well rested and well prepared. They also must do research and study the topics they will cover prior to airtime, or if they have somebody coming on the show that they're going to interview, you want to know what they're, say that they're interviewing an artist, they got to know some of their songs or the hot topics surrounding them, things like that. They got to study who they're going to interview. And then on the day of the showtime, you want to get camera ready, of course, because, you know, you got to look presentable because, you know, you're showing yourself in front of many different people. And after that, you put a microphone on set and then shoot promos before the show just to get more people to watch the show. And then it's showtime. So basically that is what you see, you know, on TV and all that. It's not really much explained because you guys see it yourself when you watch TV. So yeah, after the showtime, you basically see what's on television, and it's also important to connect with your audience through social media. So in closing, a talk show host is much more than just talking on camera. And now that I covered what a talk show host is, the path to becoming a talk show host, and the daily life of a talk show host, I hope you have a better understanding of what it takes to pursue this career. Being a talk show host requires courage, passion, and eagerness, and to learn from others and to educate others. Throughout the journey of building yourself up, it takes perseverance, and the path towards becoming a talk show host is not easy. Yet the hard work is well worth it when a talk show host loves what they do on a daily basis. So therefore, as Oprah Winfrey once said, the key to realizing a dream is to focus not on success, but significance. And even the small steps and little victories along your path will take on a greater meaning. Thank you.
So hello everyone, so my name is Kaly and today I would like to ask you a question. Before I ask you a question, I would like to discuss with you the situation. You are going through a rather difficult procedure in which it involves surgery. It is a high probability chance that you are going to be okay by the end of the surgery. A stranger, a nobody, a person unrelated to you, not a doctor, not a nurse, not anyone, comes into the room. They stop your decision and say, you are not going to proceed with surgery. My question for you is that okay for someone to tell you your decisions for you and make that decision for you, whether you can or cannot do the surgery? Controversy around the globe spikes when the topic pro-life or pro-choice of abortion is mentioned. Although we have our beliefs and morals regarding this topic, who is to have the final say in what we can as women do to our bodies? We as women go through the process of bearing children, and being able to make this difficult decision should be our choice. Today, I will share with you three things regarding abortion reasons, both women's health and children's future, and solutions to the controversy. The first one is different situations. There are a wide range of situations in which women decide to have an abortion. Research done from 2008 to 2010 by Dawn Stacy, MD, has collected data of common reasons of women wanting an abortion. She has found that 40% of women are not financially prepared. 36% say it is a bad time, not ready, or is unplanned. 20% says it's interfered with educational or vacational plans. And 12% just want a better life and future for their children. And that is only the tip of the iceberg. In complex cases such as rape, 1 in 4 women have an abortion, yet 3 of 4 cases are not even reported. Another reason is having limits resources to health exceptions. For example, some states like Alabama, Mississippi, and Ohio have no exceptions to having an abortion due in a limit time period. Now that I've discussed with you the reasons why women have abortions, let me explain to you what are the long-term effects for both women's health and children's future. There are numerous health effects that when an abortion is not preceded, and it plays a significant role in women's and children's future in the long term. In an article I searched that women who are denied an abortion are more likely to initially experience higher levels of anxiety, low life satisfactions, have lower self-esteem, and even go further into depression. Unwanted pregnancies not only affect women, but those women who birth the children. Children who are unwanted can have a neglected childhood and have a further growing up with criminal behavior, dependency on public assistance, and other long-term effects. After the children is birthed, children go through many things such as adoption and or foster homes. So what could we do about this? Women are the ones who physically go through the process. As we all know, they gain weight, lose hair, have nausea, vomit, and all those things. This is a woman's body. They physically have to adapt to a child's being growing into their body. So who gets to make the choice? A study conducted by the World's Health Organization Gutterman Institution says that the number of unsafe abortion is likely to increase when policies limit an access to reproductive health care. Women are likely to stay in an unsafe environment, abusive relationships, in order for the fetus to be affected in the process. Laws and people have a say in what we can and can't do, but we should have a say as well. For example, Georgia passes a bill allowing a short period of time for women to have an abortion. This is 6 weeks. Although it is a very short period of time, it still is a short period of time for women to decide what they can or can't do in the stages of pregnancy. We should be allowed to have a short period of time regardless of how it is, because it decreases the chances of an unsafe abortion and it saves the fetus's life. In conclusion, abortion is not something that is considered to be light or taken easy for women. Not only having the option, as we discussed, for a lot of people, there are different reasons and complex reasons why we have an abortion, why women have an abortion. It affects children and women's health. It prolongs the effects and increases the chances of women having suffered to be in abusive relationships and or other. Last is that women are the ones who physically and mentally go through the entire process with and without the child, that being before and after birth. Women should have a choice. We as women should have a choice. So you are in a hospital about to have surgery. This is it. Who really gets to decide? That's it. Thank you.